In the Idaho 4 case, we now know that Bryan Kohberger allegedly bought a balaclava mask, just like Dylan Mortensen described, at nowhere other than Dick's Sporting Goods store. We know the prosecution is now building what they themselves call a dollhouse. But what we're going to look at in this episode is Bryan Kohberger, while he was a master's student for criminal justice, wrote a detailed summary of what it would be like to look at a crime scene.
Could it be possible that Bryan Kohberger had so many missteps? I'm Lainey Law.
And I'm attorney Andrew Myers.
And it sounds like we got a lot of crazy things that could work against him in court.
Yeah, we sure do. And, newspapers love to run articles about the world's dumbest criminal, people that do things like they try and go in through the ceiling and they get stuck, and they themselves, while they're breaking into a bank, they have to call the police, things like that. There have been things like that have happened for years and years and years. In fact, I used to write a newspaper column, and every year on April Fool's Day, I wrote a whole column on just the world's dumbest criminals. But, if you were going to commit a crime that was going to have worldwide attention, would you go online and buy the K-Bar knife off of Amazon.com and then buy another one after the crime because you lost it? All of these are allegations. Or, if you were going to commit a crime, would you buy a balaclava mask from Dick's Sporting Goods? I mean, in the old days, you paid cash. You walked out, the people in the store had no idea who you were. But nowadays, if you're going to be stupid enough to use your debit card or your credit card, there's a paper trail. There's a paper trail for everything. So now these are all allegations. And, people have pointed out that in a hunting area, people buy knives. And that's true. Born and raised in Pennsylvania, people hunt. The kids I knew when I was a kid learned about using knives. Okay. Same thing with the balaclava mask. Those are used by skiers and runners. I mean, if you run in a cold climate, you don't want that cold air on your face. So there are arguments for all of these things, but put them all together. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And we have something else to add today. When Mr. Kohberger was a student at DeSales University, of course, we know he was studying criminal justice and he got a master's degree. He wrote a summary, a class scenario, this crime scene scenario that we're looking at that goes on and on and on for pages. And Lainey Law, you're not going to believe the detail that he went into on analyzing a crime scene. And as we go through this, you will see that it is a crime scene of someone who perished at the blade of a knife. It's a woman. There was only one of them, not four of them, and she's in a trailer park, not a student housing. But so this is Bryan C. Kohberger. His professor was probably David Sipe, I'm going to say. Criminal Justice 361 must have been the class.
A junior level class specifically, just to point that out. This is a lot of education into a 300 level.
Okay. And then this was done on May 5th of 2020, which, that's 2.5 years approximately before the Idaho 4 crime scene scenario final. Arriving at the crime scene, the first thing to be done is block off the crime scene. We should have told those people down in Canton. The first thing to be done is block off the crime scene in order to avoid crime scene contamination. Keeping people out of the scene minimizes evidence contamination, though many may be curious to see what occurred. The theory of transfer states that we bring something with us to the crime scene and take something away, thus skewing the crime scene from the original state by contamination. This is because the original state of the crime scene was left by the criminal suspect. A lack of contamination allows the scene to be a snapshot in time.
The curious must be noted and immediately evicted from the scene.
People to be kept out of the scene include unauthorized civilians and any more than the absolute minimum number of law enforcement agents and forensic crime scene processors.
Waiting for backup to arrive, I should stand guard at the scene, preventing these unauthorized people and even holding back eager officers from entering the scene.
Okay, I must call my immediate supervisor and inform them of the deceased white female who is approximately 35 years of age.
I must obtain an initial search warrant to search the scene. Failing to do so will mean that evidence is inadmissible. This is another reason why holding personnel from entering is key.
The coroner must be called in order to pronounce the woman dead, and EMS should be called if they were not already called by the patrol officer 15 minutes earlier, as they would have provided emergency care if the woman showed signs of life. Oh, this would have been important for many reasons. Her livelihood is one reason, but from the stance of a patrol officer or criminal investigator, she may have given a dying declaration of her attacker when informed of her impending death.
Forensic services are next on the list to call, as they are best equipped to handle the evidence, process it, and ensure there is not any contamination. Their van also contains the best equipment for forensic investigation.
A cursory search of the immediate area should be done, and any observations should be recorded in my field notes as to ensure the integrity of the preliminary case report.
Officers who are not needed at the residence should ensure that the general area is searched for anything that stands out as well. This includes the area of the trailer park, which contains 62 trailers.
Interesting that he wrote this amount of detail in a paper 2.5 years before the Idaho 4 case.
Mm-hmm. And it also adds, if there's anyone in the trailer, they should be moved out and questioned. Does she have kids?
I should gather the following information in my notes as the investigation commences, which will later be included in my preliminary case report when the details of the case culminate. The offense, the time of day, date and approximate time of offense, if known, identification of the victim, the location of the offense, the method of operation, if known, and the identification of the officer. Since the offender was not there, I would be unable to record this information initially, and the specifics of the crime won't be known until confirmed by the crime lab. Getting the approximate time is important and can be indicated by rigor mortis, which sets in at about 12 hours, or putrefaction, about 10 to 20 days.
Well, this information will aid me as I attempt to reconstruct the scene of the crime based on the evidence, location, and in relation to its former known position.
Isn't this interesting that he writes this so he has an in-depth knowledge of how investigations should at least be handled, so that now he can go ahead and, allegedly perform something, hoping to elude all of this. So in his paper, he says, equipment I will have on hand for the investigation. To be prepared for crime scene investigation, I must ensure I have a crime toolkit containing the following. If you're watching this from Canton, pay attention. A 35 millimeter camera or digital camera capable of videotaping with an adequate supply of film and powder. Wait a minute, in 2020, we were pretty digital, weren't we? I didn't think. Yeah.
So it says camera or digital camera capable of video. Yeah,
But he's talking about an adequate supply of film. I guess he just should have added and a card that has enough memory on it.
A card that has enough memory, yeah. It also says like a camera or digital camera, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there that maybe he meant an analog camera.
Yeah, I still have a 35 millimeter camera. I think last time I cleaned up the basement, it was still down there, but I haven't used it for years. A portable lighting system to ensure quality photographs and that I do not miss or step over any evidence. Assorted steel tape measures that can reach at least 25 feet. A ruler or other measurement marking devices. Latent fingerprinting equipment. Gloves to protect the scene from contamination. This will enable that I avoid leaving my latent fingerprints. Forceps and small tweezers and a pair of scissors. A small saw to take evidence. For example, drywall. Well, they did take a piece of drywall out of 1122 King Road, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
Filter paper or small swabs for liquid evidence or trace evidence. Various evidence containers for liquid and solid evidence. paper envelopes for physical evidence, evidence tape to seal off the evidence containers, casting materials to take molds of possible footprints around the perimeter with a rubber container for the mixture. A magnifying device should be kept. Crime scene tape for the scene, protective clothing, boot covers, eyewear, fiber-free overalls, face masks, hair nets, gowns, and anything that will prevent me from contaminating the scene with things I bring in with me. I wonder if he used that bullet point. If he, everything's alleged. I wonder if he used all that stuff. A blue light with yellow glasses, which makes small trace evidence more visible, can be used to ensure that a photo is taken of all evidence. There could be a very small amount of blood somewhere which wouldn't have been sampled, documented, or photographed otherwise.
So entering the home for crime scene documentation and initial photography/videography, I may enter upon judicial approval of the search warrant and should do so with the minimum number of personnel. Having too many personnel evident in the photography may put the integrity of evidence into question and taint the scene. A contamination list should be made documenting every person who enters and exits the crime scene and why. This includes first responding officers, firefighters, EMTs, family members, criminal investigators, and all crime scene personnel. Still, there should not be that many people in the crime scene, otherwise contamination will increase as the theory of exchange inevitably manifests.
I must ensure that myself and my fellow crime scene personnel are wearing gloves and other protective equipment as to avoid contaminating the scene with latent fingerprints. A fiber-free boot cover would also be ideal to avoid leaving physical footprints or residue from the boot. Anything that is fiber-free and covers the mouth, hair, and overall body would be helpful in avoiding crime scene contamination, since hair, saliva, skin cells, and other bodily fluid or cells may be added to the scene, thus contaminating it. Fibers can be left via the theory of exchange and would contaminate the crime scene from its initial state as the offender left it. Even if we can't assume that there was an offender, despite seeming obvious, preventing the contamination is an important way to ensure the integrity of the investigation and evidence. We should always treat the crime scene as if there is indeed a criminal homicide, as to not miss out on important details. That is how this crime scene is being handled.
The first thing for me to do is take coordinated series of crime scene photographs with the digital photography device or a 35mm camera for a natural point of view.
So before I get to the next bullet point, I mean, come on now. Do you think that the actual application of crime scene best techniques was used in investigating the Idaho 4 crimes? I mean, first of all, there's that 8-hour delay. So he's talking about all these potential ways in which a crime scene can be contaminated. Not that law enforcement had the ability to do that in this case, but I mean, with an 8-hour delay and people in and out of there, forget about, a pristine, ideal crime scene. He used the word ideally a couple of times. So, none of that really ever happened.
Who knows who running around the house for multiple hours after the case.
These photos must be taken prior to the movement of any object in the crime scene to ensure that the photo captures the scene as the offender left it. Well, we can't do that because there was an 8-hour delay. The photographs should be taken from a general view of the exterior of the home, as well as general views of the interior, recording the time and details of the photographs in my notes. Setting up portable lighting ensures that the elements of the crime are adequately illuminated for photographic documentation. These photos should be in color as to provide the best, most accurate image, thus avoiding photographic distortion. The following details regarding photography should be recorded in the field notes and on the back of the photos see here, now we go back to the old
the film.
Yeah, the film in the old days. Yeah, I guess you would write on the
very bizarre. I mean, I don't, this is the criminology expert here, but I feel like I would be surprised on scene if they're just printing out the photos and writing it. But I suppose this, could be like 30 years back too. So
Yeah, I mean, they have these little. Well, in the old days, they had what am I talking about? The
Polaroid.
Polaroids. Thank you. The Polaroids, where you take the picture and it would come out. Now, in digital photography, you can, in fact, there's a device you can get. There's a gizmo. You've probably heard of this, where you can take the digital photo and you can print it on the scene. But why do that when the metadata is going to have all that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that was what I was kind of thinking, where it's just like, maybe this is just, maybe he had like an old textbook and they're supposed to do it based off the old textbook, but then he's also adding like the digital camera as fact. But I agree with what you said, where if you're taking pictures with the camera, that the metadata, if done correctly, is going to have the correct year and time.
Yeah, so I'm going to skip all those bullet points. Next, photos of specific rooms should be taken with special attention to the living room in which the deceased woman was found. Okay, so in this particular scenario, there was only one M and was in one room. In the Idaho 4 case, obviously, there were 4 victims in 2 rooms, one spilling out into the hallway, apparently. As the coordination of photos is focused inward, specific components of the crime, like physical evidence, should be accounted for and detailed. These should also be logged in my field notes. Well, I guess that's a good practice, even though there is metadata. It's probably a good idea to, have some good notes also while you're taking the photographs. This physical evidence should be photographed next to a measurement marker, which can be a ruler or any other easily comparable object of well-known size.
The body and physical evidence to take a picture prior to the collection of the forensic services and criminal investigator includes the deceased woman in the living room, who should be photographed under adequate lighting from a long view. Specific shots should focus on the evidence of harm on her body and clothing, the bruises on her face, the marks on her neck, the bloody shirt, and any other signs of post-mortem lividity should be photographed and taped without moving the victim. The measure marker should be placed next to her. This will show if an offender moved the woman as to manipulate the crime scene. Does she have the defense wounds? Are there hesitation marks on her related to the knife? Or are there multiple stab wounds? These must be photographed and taped. Is the mark on her neck related to the hanger near her? The photographs make it sure that these items were indeed present at the crime scene. Most of these questions are speculated until absolutely confirmed by the forensic medical examiner, who can use scientific equations to determine the approximate time of death. This is a maximum that stands when the scene seems to point to the obvious. The time of death is never entirely accurate, but the photographs can aid in this process, as they capture the phenomena such as rigor mortis or putrefaction when the woman was found.
The knife should be photographed under adequate light, and a marker should be placed next to the knife to give the best photographic representation of the evidence. But what if there is no knife?
The misshapen coat hanger should be photographed under adequate light, and measurement markers should be placed next to the evidence.
The upended furniture and children's furniture should be photographed firstly from a long view and then focused specifically on each piece of furniture under adequate lighting with a measurement marker.
All this should be well documented in the field notes and on the photograph.
Is there any sign of forced entry to the home? This would be evident by broken glass from windows. But what if you break into a party house where many different people have access? There's a question as to whether the door is left open and whether people have the code for the key for the entry system. Oh, I digress. Go ahead.
A video camera will be used as well to go over all the evidence, which is photographed. Documentation of the video evidence should also be filled out and recorded in the field notes.
This goes on and on and on and on and on, and we've barely even gotten halfway into it. Do you think that people kind of get the point of this?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds, well, despite some of the other things that we're going to talk about in this episode, it sounds like you would think that he'd have a pretty good idea of how it should be handled.
Yeah, and also the just the amount of detail that it goes into. So, I mean, this is what you study, I guess, if you're getting a master's degree in criminal justice. You study the details of this, and this obviously is a final paper, so I'm sure they had classes on each and every one of these little things. And so he is very well aware of, what the investigation is going to entail. And he goes into it all. The next thing that I found really interesting in the recent disclosures in this case was an affidavit by Cy Ray, the expert. And he says that the prosecution is all wet with regard to their cell tower analysis. And so it starts out, this is Cy Ray. I am an adult over the age of 18, and I have personal knowledge of the facts set forth in this affidavit.
I have been working in the field of call detail record analysis for over 25 years. I became a certified police officer in the state of Arizona in 1996. I worked with my first set of AT&T records in 1997. I spent nearly 20 years in law enforcement in the primary role of a detective. I have worked hundreds of death investigations and consulted on over 1,000 homicide cases in my career. In my role as a detective, I gained extensive experience utilizing call detail records and exploiting cellular networks for investigative-related purposes. In 2014, I retired from law enforcement and started a business called ZX. I created software for law enforcement to map and analyze call detail records. As part of that business, we maintained software that supported every known call detail record provided to law enforcement in the United States. To date, the system has analyzed over 3 billion calls from call detail records provided by the cellular phone companies in the United States. In 2021, LexisNexis purchased ZX and today is still using and selling the software I created. As a result of this experience, I have worked directly with engineers at cellular phone companies for over 2 decades, and I'm intimately familiar with the type of data they maintain in the normal course of business and provide to law enforcement through legal demands process.
In addition to my law enforcement experience, I have instructed classes on utilizing cell records in criminal investigations for nearly 20 years. So this isn't a guy that just fell off the turnip truck. This guy, he's been doing this for a long time. I've had over 30,000 law enforcement officers attend these courses and or presentations on this subject matter. In 2014, I created the first geolocation cellular investigations subject matter expert course in this field, offered to state and local law enforcement officers. As a result of this work, I have established well-known and used best practices within the discipline of call detail record analysis. Over 1,000 law enforcement agencies have attended my courses on the subject matter of cell record analysis, to include the FBI, the ATF, U.S. Marshals, DEA, and DHS. So I'm thinking to myself, he's teaching the people at these agencies, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, U.S. Marshal's Office, the Drug Enforcement Agency, and the Department of Homeland Security. So if he's teaching these people, how could a court not allow him to testify before a jury as an expert?
Through my work in this discipline, I am regularly consulted by the prosecution on investigations around the world. As a recognized subject matter expert in this field, I have testified on the matter more than 100 times to the United States in both federal and state courts. Apart from this case, all my testimony in this field has been on behalf of the prosecution. It is only in rare cases and circumstances I have ever considered working on the side of the defense.
That's really significant because, a lot of times, there's a thing called a battle of experts, and you get, for example, an orthopedic doctor that always testifies for plaintiffs, or an independent medical examiner that always testifies for insurance companies. And juries are on to that because the questions indicate, that they were hired, that they were paid. And so juries are on to that these are experts. And a lot of time it becomes a battle of experts. But this guy, who I've never met, I've read about him. We talked about him in a previous episode. This guy, all, if not most actually, of his work has been with police departments, with law enforcement, with, federal agencies. And so he, has developed his criteria, qualifications, background, education, experience working for prosecution. So this time he is testifying on behalf of the defense, which gives him, in my view, added credibility. I have worked extensively with timing advanced data from the cellular phone network providers over the last 15 years. I have testified to the use of timing advanced data numerous times. I have created and taught hundreds of classes on this subject matter to law enforcement. I am extremely familiar with the type of timing advance records available from U.S. cellular providers, their retention periods, and the legal process to obtain those records. So, Lainey, what is timing advance anyhow?
Timing advance records are maintained by cellular network providers that provide a time measurement. The time measurement refers to the amount of time it takes for a radio signal to travel from a cell site to a mobile device and back to the cell site. Given this signal travels at a known constant speed of light, it is possible to use measurement to determine the distance the mobile device is from a known cell site.
So I'm trying to figure this out. The first time I read this, maybe I'm a little slow, I don't know, and I'm trying to figure this out. So, it's not just saying, well, all right, as it said in the probable cause affidavit, well, all right, his phone, pinged off of cell towers that cover 1122 King Road. No, they actually have the ability to go out, and because radio signals from your phone to the tower go at the speed of light, I guess if you send a signal from your phone, it bounces off the tower. So I'm guessing here that tells you the precise distance you are from the tower, correct?
That seems to be what he's alluding to.
Okay, so that's my C- understanding of this technology.
Your level 300 cell phone tower paper.
When multiple cell sites record timing advance data in short periods of time, it is possible to use trilateralization to determine the location of a mobile device. Trilateration, is it trilateration, or I always thought it was triangulation? I don't know. The use of timing advance data in this manner is one of the most accurate ways for law enforcement to locate a mobile device. Okay, I want to work on my C grade. So in other words, you can tell how far you are from a cell tower. I get it. But that's a ring around the cell tower. But if you do that,
that's triangulation.
Okay.
The trilateration is how it is laterally. So I don't necessarily know the specifics on that, but it is similar to the triangulation.
So I guess the base, I'm trying to work on my C grade here. So the idea is if you can tell how far you are from one cell tower with one. But if you have three and you put them all together, now you can pinpoint the exact location of that cell phone. Am I right?
That is what we seem to be getting at. Yeah.
Okay. Do I get a C plus, or am I still at a C?
I'll give you the C plus. I mean, it's very complicated too, because like the prefix is like tri, so the implication is that it's going to be taking multiple points with that too.
Right.
So it's very complicated, and this is why we have experts that are teaching these classes. And remember, even though that I have technology knowledge, this guy's been working with cell phones and law enforcement for a very, 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 very long time.
I think the important thing here is not just to make me understand it, but I think the important thing is not only that this guy's an expert and he's been doing it for a million years and he's taught the classes to the FBI and the ATF and everybody else. The really important thing is to be able to convey it clearly to the jury so that they understand it, because you're going to get people from all walks of life. You're going to get people from all walks of life. You might get some brilliant people that have PhDs, but you are going to get a lot of people that, they don't. So you have to be able to communicate it well. So I think we were, oh gosh.
Yeah, I got the next point, but I also did get a little Google. So this is trilateration versus triangulation.
Okay.
Trilateration uses distances, the sides of triangles, while triangulation uses the angles. So they both use the 3 points, but it seems like the trilateration is going to be more specifically the distance versus where. Does that make sense? Versus the angle as the way. Very nuanced, very nuanced.
So this guy is there's no question the guy is very brilliant and very experienced, but I think he's going to need to learn how to convey this to a jury so average people like me can understand it.
So given these records are available in historical context, it is possible to conduct an analysis of timing advance data to pinpoint historical locations of mobile device at a given date and time. It's also possible to determine routes of travel, stagnation, and when a mobile device is powered on and off.
As a result of its accuracy, requesting timing advance data has become a standard practice for all law enforcement in the United States. and is regularly requested through legal process relating to a criminal investigation.
All right. So the AT&T timing advance. In August of 2021, I was approached by an FBI special agent to assist in analyzing a type of record identified as AT&T timing advance report. And it was the first time I was made aware of this type of data from AT&T. Upon request, I can provide the date, time, location, and FBI agent I assisted with the record set.
So he's actually kind of in the ground research in developing this technology. As of the year 2021, which was 1 year before the Idaho 4 case, AT&T had not officially released a timing advance report to law enforcement. Therefore, the ZX software program did not yet support AT&T timing advance records. As a result of this interaction with the FBI, I obtained a copy of the timing advance report from the special agent and forwarded it to our software engineers to write code within the ZX system to support future uploads of this timing advance report format.
The next day, I was informed by the special agent that AT&T timing advance report was not supposed to be viewed outside of the FBI, and that individual requested I return the report and not have any software developed to support the data they had shown me. I did return the report. However, due to the interaction explained here, there is a paper trail documenting the facts of this interaction.
So, you know what I want to do? I think we have established that Mr. Ray is an expert. I think we have established that he was in on the technology as it grew. And I think we have established that he really knows a lot about the subject. I have worked with the AT&T Global Legal Demand Center, the GLDC, for over 15 years. So I want to get to the end of it. You know, when I get something from a court, I usually read the last page first. So this goes on, and not to denigrate anything that has been said here. We're going to take a look right here. Conclusion. It is my expert opinion in reviewing all of the evidence that has been disclosed by the state that A, AT&T timing advance data was available on the defendant's phone in 2022. B, there is overwhelming evidence showing the state obtaining and using AT&T timing advance data in the course of this investigation in 2022 on over 3,800 AT&T mobile devices other than the defendants. C, there is no doubt the author of this current motion, Prosecutor Ashley Jennings, knew or should have known AT&T timing advance data did exist in 2022. She was directly involved in the legal process obtaining it and was aware of work product created from it to further the investigation. The current motion is a deliberate misrepresentation to the court to further conceal false information, or I should say false statements used to obtain probable cause against the defendant and conceal exculpatory evidence from discovery.
I'm prepared to provide witness testimony and relevant exhibits to support all my opinions contained in this affidavit. It is my belief this evidence is beyond clear and convincing and will be supported by any competent expert in this field who reviews all the data. This is not a battle of experts. The evidence supporting the opinions in this affidavit is overwhelming.
In my nearly 30 years of working with and for prosecutors all over the United States, I have never witnessed such a deliberate attempt by prosecutors to mislead the court on evidence in such plain sight. Anyone making such a claim would have to believe the court is incapable of reviewing physical evidence in possession of the state and defense. It rises to a level beyond a simple miscommunication or oversight and is clear and intentional misrepresentation in the hopes to conceal a much larger issue. I respectfully request the court give this affidavit the due attention it deserves and explore these issues further.
He's cooking.
Those are very, very strong words. I really don't think I've seen such strong words in an affidavit by an expert. He spent a very great deal of time explaining his background and his education and his experience, three things that are required in order to qualify as an expert. And what he is saying is that the cell tower data that was included in the probable cause affidavits, the multiple ones, the one in Idaho, the one in Pennsylvania, and the affidavits that were sent out to the various suppliers like AT&T, Google, Amazon, included false information about the cell data. So those are very strong words. I think that you can talk about the mask, you can talk about the knife, but this gets into the basis of the actual information that is known that does connect or not connect Bryan Kohberger to the crime. So, strong words, and I can't see how the court wouldn't take it seriously. I really don't.
I'm surprised that he goes in so hard saying that it was intentionally kind of concealed that this technology existed and was a thing. I think, usually, like, it's one thing to say that it exists and that it's a thing. It's another thing to say that the prosecution was intentionally trying to be misleading with it.
So Bryan Kohberger's family has been very quiet. There is talk that the state of Idaho, the prosecutors may want to bring him into this case. Well, they've been quiet for a long time. And guess what? They've been found outside.
Oh my gosh.
Mowing the lawn, taking care of business. Here's an article that was just several days ago in the Daily Mail. Bryan Kohberger's family seen for the first time in months as bombshell twist threatens to throw them into, I hate that word, bombshell, threatens to throw them into the middle of the Idaho case. His family has been living in the shadows. Here we see his father doing some yard work, Daily Mail exclusive. That's Mr. Kohberger. Michael, 69, has maintained his daily status quo and was spotted doing yard work in exclusive photos by the Daily Mail. How would you like it if you were out raking leaves and somebody's taking pictures of
I was just thinking, let the man live. Oh my God. It's like he's going to have to be, like, after this horrific thing, after all this trauma about hearing about his son and all of this, it's just like he can't even take care of his yard in peace.
I know. And usually when I'm doing yard work, like I'm trying to clean up my garden right now, I don't dress in the nicest clothes. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
This is sad. This is sad. The chilling allegations against Kohberger have substantially affected his older sisters, Amanda, 37, and Melissa, 33. Both lost their jobs when his alleged crimes went public. That's not right.
Terrible, yeah.
That's not right, because they had nothing to do with it. Just because, apparently they didn't have the best relationship growing up anyhow. And then for them to lose their jobs just because of allegations, he's presumed innocent, folks. A lot of people just don't understand that. I don't know why, they just don't understand that. But anyhow.
Well, even just beyond that, though, it's just like, imagine I get fired over something my brother did. It's like,
Yeah.
I personally haven't lived with my brother in over 15 years.
It's just not right. But Amanda does appear to have landed a new job as a counselor close to the family home, with the recent Daily Mail pictures showing her keeping a low profile while shopping. Poor Amanda. Can't she go out and buy a new purse for her new job? I mean, come on now.
No one gets peace with the media.
Public records show she got her Pennsylvania social work license in June of last year. She was let go from her acting job in 2023. The next paragraph is just background. His family has largely maintained their silence since his arrest at their $140,000 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom home in the private Indian Mountain Lake community, which was raided by the FBI. We don't need to know.
I was going to say, like, what does that do for us knowing that? Like, honestly, that's a very cheap house. Like, that's makes the situation even more sad. It's like a relatively cheap, like, multiple bedroom apartment.
Well, you're gauging it by New England prices. I know because, I was born and raised in Pennsylvania and things have changed there since. But housing prices are extremely high here in New England and New Hampshire. Housing prices down in Pennsylvania are much lower than they are here. So we can't gauge the value of, we've seen it all from the pictures that we've seen before. So it doesn't look like a bad house. It's certainly not a mansion, but it's not a bad house. Here's his mother, Michael's wife, Marianne, 65, has remained inside their home and hasn't been seen in public since the couple was called to testify in front of a grand jury for an unrelated case in May 2023. And there she is. And,
It
She doesn't want to be
sucks.
seen.
Yeah.
You know, there's the father again doing
in his
some-
pajamas. Poor guy.
clearing away tree branches and tidying up trash. And, I usually don't wear pajamas if I'm going outside. No, I put something
I try
on.
to get away with it as much as possible.
And here we have Amanda.
Shopping for her bag.
Yeah, that's Bryan Kohberger's sister, Amanda.
So hard. Like, imagine, the thing is, it's just like, imagine trying to pick up your life after having a family member go through this and years later, and you're still not able to go out in public without strangers taking pictures of you.
Yeah, I feel bad for her. His sister, Amanda, 37, appears to have landed a new job as a counselor close to the family home. She can be seen in these photos. Yeah, we see. And it's
dogs are like, it's doxing everyone.
There she is again, Amanda. There's the blurry picture of a Hyundai Elantra. We have no idea if it's his. There's Michael, the father, shortly after the SWAT team raid, doing some cleanup in the house. Shards of glass and remnants of the door's decorative panel could be seen lying near a trash can containing broken window blinds, also damaged during the bust. The property has since returned to a state of normalcy with a floral wreath adorning the new door.
That's so sad. It's like he's wearing the Life is Good hoodie. It's just like they're putting up the wreaths. They're just trying to be normal.
Yeah. Part of the statement said that they would love and support Kohberger through the process, but they haven't been seen at any of his court appearances since his extradition hearing in early 2023. Well, that's because it's across the country. So that's the article. And then they just run a lot of stuff that we've seen before. I do not know. Do we have time to do a couple of comments or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure everybody would love to see. So let's pull up some comments from our viewers, and I'll start this one off. So this one is from Lucy Murphy, C2N. The full transcript of texts, calls, and social media activities from DM and BF have been released. DM did not wake up at 4 a.m. because she heard noises. She added a new contact into her phone at 3:51 a.m. The approximate time DM said she saw the intruder, heard a male voice, and she thought she heard Xana crying was 4:17, while BF called DM at 4:17. Then both girls were on Snapchat and Instagram.
Interesting.
Crazy activity.
Here's from Star New 182 raising an issue that is contested. The picture shows someone that got ready for the day, but he looks sick, sinister. Look,
he's so sinister. I feel bad. The thing is like with the context with the murders and that this is a suspect, it is very disturbing. But when you take all of that away from this picture, it's really hard out here for 30-year-old men. Like, my sympathies go out to you guys. It's just like, imagine just trying to live your life and people are saying this is a sinister photo. He probably thought you looked good and fresh out of the shower. And especially, I've mentioned before, it's like he lost a lot of weight. So, like, with the context behind the photo, when you have it in your head that he did it, it's a sinister photo, but he's just the guy.
where do you hear this? Esmeralda Wetterwachs. At first, I was completely neutral and waited for the investigation and what evidence the prosecution may have. Now, I have to say that everything indicates that BK is the one. If there's anything the defense could try to achieve is a deal to save BK from the death penalty. But I don't think the prosecution is going to go for it. Whoops. They have enough evidence to get a guilty verdict of the jury. And there's the balaclava. I can't say that.
Balaclava.
There's the balaclava mask. I never bought one. So I'm not.
It's not been on my list of things that I need to urgently get. I come undone. I'm coming undone. The knife is a bad fact, but I still haven't seen anything that moves me from not guilty at this point.
In the final countdown, the final comment. In my opinion, neither Andrew nor BK have overly bushy eyebrows. That kid in the Banfield video, on the other hand, has very bushy eyebrows. Sad might be his name. Well, you can't tell from this particular photo. We've run video of the Banfield a couple of times, and It's kind of hard to tell here in this picture. It's dark. You really can't see much of anything. And one of the faces is blurred out. So I don't think that really helps us with anything. So that's our update in this episode. A lot has happened. We took our eye off the ball in our previous week because so much has been happening in the Karen retrial. We had a lot to catch up on. So we'll keep our eye on it and let us know if there are any details that you would like us to catch in the next episode.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it this far, be sure to post your dolphins. Today's emoji is dolphins. Post some dolphins down in the comments below. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already.
Yeah, we're stuck in the 14s. We're stuck in the 14,000s. And so I don't like 14 either. I didn't like 13, but help us get up to 15. Subscribe, like. We don't shill. We don't try and sell you merch. We don't beg you for money to have the super chats. We don't beg for money, but we just want to subscribe. So go down and subscribe. And peace. Have a great weekend. Relax and have a good time.
Whether you are in the grocery store, the gas station, or anywhere else, please remember to be kind to people. You don't know what they're going through. And the same goes for our comments section. We want you to comment, but be nice, be kind, be positive if you can. And thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Have a good one.